One is simply education matters, because we see how God used scholars in leading and spreading the gospel, using universities to promote God's kingdom in a critical way. And in a negative sense, we see how the Catholics so strategically used universities to oppose and drive back the Reformation. So education matters. So as evangelicals, we need to be really pro-education. The second reason is God created us with minds. And He's the one that commands us to not only seek wisdom, which is wonderful, but He also commands us to seek knowledge. And that's kind of what education is about. I think one thing that I'd like to see more Christian academics today do is to recognize their work in universities as a high and holy calling from God. That they're there on mission, serving Christ. That doing scholarly work is a good and a holy task, regardless of the discipline. And to affirm it as their ministry. And then to report into duty and say, Jesus, I'm here. What do you want me to do for you today? How can you use me in this place to extend your kingdom? I think as well we need to remember ideas have consequences. You look at how the Reformation changed the world. It changed politics, it changed economics, it changed education. Theology matters. Ideas have consequences. And in the evangelical church in this century, we've kind of adopted much more of a feeling approach to our faith. If it feels good, then it must be of God. If it doesn't, then it must not. We need to realize ideas have serious consequences, both positively for God's kingdom and negatively. I would say also, I'd like to see Christian academics today really keep their passion for Christ. When I look at the life of Martin Luther, he became a professor when he got his doctor's degree and was a professor the rest of his life. And one of my favorite biographies of him is by Roland Bainton. It's one of the old biographies. And Bainton describes Luther as a man aflame with Christ. I would like to see a whole army of Christian academics of whom we could say they are aflame for Christ. I'd like to see academics be men and women of prayer as well, who are really lifting up their campuses, lifting up their students. One thing that Luther did was care for his students. I mean, he would teach as many as 400 students at 6 o'clock on summer mornings. I mean, he had large classes. Everybody wanted to be in Luther's classes. He would have these huge classes. And he would spend hours and hours meeting with, many students actually lived with he and Katharina in their home. But he would write letters to the parents. He would write letters to rich people, helping to raise money if a student did not have enough money for housing or for food. He cared for his students. He helped them on their love life. He helped match boys and girls and get them in good marriages. He cared for them as human beings. So I would say that as Protestant educators, we have this great model of how to be educators for the glory of Christ. And one is to really care for our students. I'd like us also to be working and praying for Reformation in our day. And to realize that may require being bold and decisive. Luther lived his entire career under the threat of death. He was not only excommunicated, but anyone could kill him and actually be rewarded for it the rest of his life after he refused to recant. So it took courage for him to do what he did. He had to be bold.